My name is Jade and her name is Dawn. On the 23rd of March 2010 she was born. She's got half a heart, yes you heard that right. You're looking at Supergirl fighting with all her might. So stick around and you will hear the amazing story about my girl right here.
Hey everybody and welcome back to Archer Adventures. If you are new here, my name is Jade Marie and I'm normally joined by my daughter Dawn-Louise, but for today it's just me. But this video will be about her and it's also going to be very important, so please stay tuned. Now, I want to just address the fact that February is Heart Awareness Month, if you didn't already know that, and from the 7th to the 14th it is also CHD Awareness Week. CHD stands for Congenital Heart Defect, and this is about our journey with it. It's going to be like a mini series. We're going to do quite a few videos on it, but we're going to try and keep them kind of short and compact so that we don't sort of overload you with information. But if there is anything that you want to ask, do pop it below. Dawn-Louise is happy to do a little Q&A as well if you have any questions specifically for her. As long as they're sort of age appropriate for a 7-year-old, I will tell them to her and then she will reply and let you know what her answer is. And I just wanted to show, because I never wear a hoodie, so if you're wondering why I am today, it's because it's my special awareness hoodie, HLHS Heart Mum, and on the back it says about Dawn-Louise as well, but I will insert a photo of that. I probably won't be able to get it in the frame. So if you're new to this channel and this is your first time watching us, or you've watched a couple of our videos but not all of them, I will pop a card up above for my how I found out I was pregnant video. I have gone into some of the things that I will mention today, but not as in detail as I will today. They're more in detail in the previous video, which is one that I think that you should go and watch first if you haven't already. But yeah, let's get in. So I found out I was pregnant very late into the pregnancy. I was already 22 weeks and 3 days gestation when I actually had my very first ultrasound, and it was at this ultrasound that I actually found out how far along I was. So during my first ultrasound they sat me down and they asked me if I wanted to know the sex, and I said yes, and they said that she was a little girl. And because of how far along I was, it was also the anatomy scan that I was having, which most people know is the gender reveal scan, but in actual fact its real purpose is to check the anatomy of the baby. You can sort of guess the gender from these scans, but it isn't their main purpose. Obviously that's much nicer for the parents than the technicians, because they are taking a much more serious look than most parents are when they see the babies on the screen. So whilst they were doing this scan, the technician was very chatty and she was talking to me, and then all of a sudden she stopped talking and she said, "I'll be right back," and she goes and gets another technician and they have a look too, and this lady didn't even say hello. She made no effort to talk to anyone that was in the room. I was there with my mother as well, and nothing was said in that room. It was all just complete silence. And then the original technician asked me to come to another room with her and that we were going to see a doctor. And obviously this being my first pregnancy, I didn't really notice that anything was abnormal. It did feel a bit strange, but I thought maybe it was just because of my age, because obviously there are certain judgments towards that. So I get into the room, they turn the lights off, they do the scan, and it's taking a lot longer than the other ones. It was more detailed, and he wasn't showing me the screen, it was turned away from me, so I wasn't watching what was going on the screen at the time either. So we said all done, popped his little wand back in the machine, gave me some tissue to wipe my belly, and then he held my hand. He said, "I'm so sorry, but your daughter only has half a heart." And he started listing all these medical terms that even to this day I wouldn't have understood. And then he says she has Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome, and this means that she's missing the left side of her heart. The left side is the most important side of the heart because it pumps blood all around the body. The right side only pumps to the lungs, so she is only left with the right side that is this weaker side. It isn't supposed to do such a big job as pushing blood around the whole of the body. And this is the most serious congenital heart defect there is. It is one that is fatal within the first week of birth. So I was given 3 options. One was a late termination, in which I would have to be induced, give birth naturally whilst awake, because due to my age they would not let me have a cesarean to have a termination. They didn't want to put me to sleep for it. They said I'd have to be awake, I'd have to do it naturally. And then I would give birth to her and they would stop her heart via an injection, which sounded like murder. So as soon as they said that, I was like, no, that isn't happening. That isn't going to happen at all. The second option was compassionate care, which means that she'd be made comfortable, have a natural birth, be made comfortable after birth, but then would pass away as soon as the heart duct that closes after birth closes, because after that the heart would not be able to function whatsoever, and she would shut down and she would pass away, most likely in her cot or my arms, depending on obviously where we were. And that didn't really sound fair either. I felt like I had to give her a chance, so I chose the third option, which was 3 stages of surgery. The first being within the first week of life, called the Norwood, the second being within 3 to 6 months, called the Glen, and the third being the Fontan, which is between 4 and 8 years of age. None of these are cures, none of them are fixes, they just prolong life, they are palliative care. So yes, they can give most children a couple more years than they would have had without them. But unfortunately a lot of children do still die during these surgeries because they are very risky, they are very lengthy, and the size of a heart in a newborn is only the size of a walnut. It's very, very small, and it's very, very hard to do these surgeries. So not every hospital can, so we had to have the rest of the scans done under a specialist hospital, which was in another city, a city I'd never been to before, in a hospital I'd never been to before. And thankfully my mum came to all the appointments with me, as did my granddad when he could, and they kept a very close eye on her heart, so I didn't really get any more scan pictures after the first 2, because they were mostly focusing on just the heart and then just sort of roughly doing the rest of it, because they had to make sure that her heart wasn't getting any worse and that there was still going to be a chance of her having these surgeries. So yeah, unfortunately, with my daughter being nearly 8 years old now and me finding out I was pregnant back in 2009, my memory of her diagnosis isn't that great, so I can't really go into any more detail because in all honesty I don't really remember anything else from it. I just remember how I felt, and I remember going home, well, when I left the hospital with my mum and we were heading back to the car on that initial ultrasound where they told me that there was something wrong with her, I was holding it together quite well in the hospital, but the minute we got outside, and obviously it was November so it was dark, I couldn't stop crying. It was just so much, and I'd only recently found out I was pregnant, so it was a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and it definitely made it really hard to deal with.
Sorry this video ended so abruptly. Please do hit the bell for the next episode in the CHD series, and thank you so much for watching.